The EU has been in constant flux since its foundation in the year 1993. Initially, it was a union of mainly Western and Central European countries, but it has grown steadily over the years and expanded in all directions. It is considered a beacon of security and stability and attracts more and more states, even those farther away, with its economic and political advantages. Consequently, there are now a multitude of candidate countries and potential applicants within Europe and beyond. But who are these countries, which have the greatest chances of joining soon, and how might the Union completely transform in the future? We'll explore all these exciting questions in today's video. Enjoy! Originally, the predecessor of today's EU, the European Economic Community, consisted of only 6 countries, namely West Germany, France, Italy, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg. Even back then, there were constant phases of enlargement, especially toward Southern and Western Europe. By the time of its official foundation in the year 1993, the EU consisted of the following 12 countries. But already 2 years later, the next expansion occurred, as Sweden, Finland, and longtime neutral Austria joined. However, the largest and probably most significant expansion to date took place in the year 2004. In one fell swoop, 10 new countries, primarily from Eastern Europe, joined. These were Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, Slovenia, Malta, and Cyprus. The EU was now almost at the stage we know it today. In 2007, only Romania and Bulgaria followed, and the latest expansion took place in 2013 when Croatia joined the Union. The only major change since then was when the United Kingdom became the first country to leave the EU in the year 2020. As of today, the EU consists of 27 member states. Although, as we have seen, there have been few changes in the last 10 years, this could change drastically in the next 10 years. This is because there are numerous countries eager to join as quickly as possible. One of the most impactful events in Europe was the Russian invasion of Ukraine, which completely upended the continent's realities and has significantly accelerated accession negotiations. The Union now finds itself under pressure to prevent the remaining countries in Europe from falling under Russia's influence. Thus, in the last 2 years, we have seen a significant shift in the accession perspective of several countries, and it is not unlikely that the EU could expand significantly again in the coming years. But which countries are these, and which have the best chances? Let's take a closer look now. The most likely candidates are located in the Western Balkans. We are talking about the countries of Albania, Bosnia, Montenegro, Serbia, and North Macedonia. Negotiations began the earliest with Albania, which in 2003 became the first of the potential candidate countries to negotiate a stabilization and association agreement. In 2009, Albania joined NATO, and in the year 2014, it received official candidate status. However, the actual initiation of talks was blocked for a long time by the Netherlands, which demanded reforms to Albania's constitutional court and the implementation of a media law. It was only in 2022 that the Netherlands lifted its blockade, allowing official accession negotiations to begin. In the meantime, Albania had implemented significant reforms in its judiciary and anti-corruption efforts, making it one of the strongest candidates for early accession today. Bosnia began negotiations for an association agreement with the EU in 2005, which were successfully concluded in 2008. However, it took much longer for Bosnia to achieve candidate status. Deep ethnic tensions and minority policies within the country caused many EU states to view it critically. Amid the Ukraine war and fears of growing Russian influence in the region, Bosnia was granted candidate status in 2022. On the 21st of March, 2024, EU states agreed to initiate accession talks. However, they noted that significant reforms were still needed within the country. Next, we have Montenegro, which became independent from Serbia in 2006, hoping that this independence would facilitate quicker EU accession. The plan largely worked. Montenegro quickly signed an association agreement, achieved candidate status in 2010, and began negotiations in 2012. Since 2009, Montenegrin citizens have been able to travel to the EU visa-free, and the country even uses the euro. While Montenegro already fulfills many criteria for accession, negotiations are still stalled, particularly in the areas of rule of law and anti-corruption efforts. North Macedonia received candidate status in 2005, but negotiations were stalled for many years. The problem was a naming dispute with Greece, which claimed exclusive rights to the name Macedonia. It was only after the country renamed itself North Macedonia that Greece lifted its blockade. However, a veto from Bulgaria soon followed. Bulgaria demands that North Macedonia reinterpret its history in favor of Bulgaria and claims that the Macedonian language is not independent but merely a Western Bulgarian dialect. In the year 2022, official accession talks with North Macedonia were opened, but real negotiations are still being prevented by Bulgaria's veto. Then there is Serbia, which achieved candidate status in 2012 and began negotiations in 2014. The EU requires Serbia to resolve its tensions with Kosovo as a condition for possible membership. These tensions have led to repeated clashes in recent years. Additionally, many Europeans fear that Serbia could act as a Trojan horse within the Union, given its close ties to Russia. Finally, we have the previously mentioned Kosovo. It is the only Western Balkan state that has not progressed beyond its application. Several EU countries, Romania, Slovakia, Spain, Greece, and Cyprus, do not recognize its independence and therefore block candidate status. Moreover, there are ongoing tensions with Serbia. The best chances for early accession from the Western Balkans belong to Albania and Montenegro. Serbia and Kosovo must first resolve their disputes. North Macedonia must settle its differences with Bulgaria, and Bosnia must achieve ethnic reconciliation. But there are also strong candidates outside the Balkans, particularly in Eastern Europe. Incidentally, it is exactly 20 years ago today, on the 1st of May 2024, that the EU's major Eastern enlargement took place, with 10 countries joining at once. The most well-known of these today is Ukraine. For a long time, its prospects seemed very slim, and even the negotiations for an association agreement were arduous. However, the Russian invasion changed everything. On the 28th of February 2022, Ukrainian President Zelensky signed the application for his country's membership in the EU. Just a few months later, Ukraine was granted candidate status, and accession talks have since begun. Ukraine has already made significant progress in many areas within a short time, but there is still a need for improvement, particularly regarding corruption. However, the future will largely depend on developments on the battlefield and the outcome of the war. Together with Ukraine, another state in the region also achieved candidate status, the Republic of Moldova. In December 2023, the European Council approved the initiation of accession talks. Moldovan President Maia Sandu stated that her country aims to join the EU by 2030. However, the country faces the issue of the breakaway region of Transnistria, which is pro-Russian and hosts Russian troops. Many EU states fear admitting Moldova, making its accession dependent on developments in the ongoing war. Further away from Europe, we also have another candidate, Georgia. Amid Russian aggression, Georgia was granted official candidate status in December 2023. However, the country at Russia's southern border faces similar issues to Moldova. it has 2 breakaway Russian provinces and lags behind Europe in areas such as corruption, oligarchy, organized crime, and human rights. Many also doubt whether Georgia is truly part of Europe. Nevertheless, the EU is determined not to let the country fall under Russian influence and insists on negotiations. Lastly, Turkey also holds candidate status. However, its chances of joining are the worst, and negotiations have been permanently suspended due to domestic and foreign policy developments. From the beginning, many argued that Turkey, with around 97% of its territory in Asia, does not belong in Europe. Still, as we can see, there is significant potential for the EU to expand considerably in the coming years. The accession of multiple Western Balkan states seems highly likely, and Ukraine, Moldova, and Georgia could also join by the end of this decade. Additionally, there are several other countries that, at least theoretically, have the potential to become part of the EU in the future. These include Norway, Iceland, Switzerland, the microstates of Liechtenstein, San Marino, Monaco, and Andorra, as well as countries from the Eastern Partnership like Armenia and Azerbaijan. Furthermore, the EU oversees territories such as French Guiana, or the Dutch Antilles, or even Denmark's Greenland could also be candidates. Feel free to comment below if you'd like to see another video covering all these potential long-term members.